Without wasting any further time, I'd like to come to our next topic, yoga. On late January this year, the Honorable Education Minister, he made an announcement where any student who will practice yoga will get an extra mark, which raised actually a lot of controversy. So directly, Mr. Jerry Thomas, he will be covering this topic. So let me introduce who is Jerry Thomas. Most of you know him. He has been involved in apologetics for almost 15 years now. He has conducted open forums in universities such as University of Baroda, University of Hyderabad, English and Foreign Language University, etc. He has engaged in public debates as an individual or as a part of a panel with Islamic debaters such as Brother Asifuddin Muhammad, President of the Islamic Academy for Comparative Religion, Brother Imran of Islamic Research and Educational Foundation, but known as IREF, and Janab PJ Maulvi, then the head of one of the largest Islamic sect in India. He has also publicly refuted the vile charges of Dr. Zakir Naik, of now banned IRF, and MM Akbar of Niche of Truth from Kerala, who is now under police investigation. He has also written responses to the Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati's questions against the Holy Bible, as well as submitted responses for Hindutva group's questions to Justice Someshwar Commission of late. He has been working within the churches for reformation and revival. So let us all welcome Jerry Thomas.
Greetings to you all in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I will quickly go into the subject on yoga. Why are we discussing yoga as a subject? Because we are a Christian Apologetics network, and why should we bother about the yoga? As you would see, as it was already told, there is a systematic and a coordinated effort from the government of India and the Maharashtra government to promote yoga. If you do yoga in Maharashtra prisons, you will get your jail prison term will be reduced. How is it different from the Saudi Arabia, where you can learn Quran and get your jail term reduced? The government of India and the government of Maharashtra is adopting the same dictatorial, autocratic practices of the Saudi Arabian government in the jails here. Not only that, in the schools, if you perform yoga, you will get extra marks. This is in Maharashtra schools. Maharashtra schools, if you perform yoga, you are going to get extra marks. This came in January 22nd, 2016. Now government has not only given the extra marks, they have already come up with the NCERT syllabus. NCERT has already come up with the syllabus on yoga, and that is being implemented across India. NCERT has already come up with the upper primary syllabus, and also they have come up with the secondary stage syllabus. This is NCERT syllabus, and if you look at this syllabus, you will see that they are promoting this yoga under the name saying that this is for promoting health, physical fitness and concentration. All good intentions, but does it actually promote health? Does it actually improve health, improve concentration? Those are questions that we will look at into this. Now, the Maharashtra government not only promotes the yoga, they have already assigned 2 yoga gurus to teach yogas in the school. One is Adaraniya Baba Ramdev ji, and second is Adaraniya Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji. Both of these gurus are already recommended by the government of Maharashtra to teach yoga in the schools. So is the NCERT syllabus that the government has come up, is it similar to the yoga programs offered by these yoga gurus? Yes. If you look at Adaraniya Baba Ramdev ji's yoga program, daily yoga program, you will see a similar breakup. In the NCERT syllabus, the maximum weightage is given to the asanas, body exercises. Exactly the same thing you will see in the Baba Ramdev ji's yoga program as well. Second comes the pranayama, the breathing exercises. And if you look at all these things, The asanas have a higher weightage overall, and the asanas, there is a lot of stretching exercises and there is a rhythmic motion, rhythmic postures are changed from one posture to another in a rhythmic way. Now the government of India is promoting the yoga, it is promoting these gurus as well. So the programs offered by the government of India is similar to all these Guruji's programs offered. They also offer similar programs, in a way government is promoting it. Now the question is, as individuals and as parents, is the yoga good for your children? Since the government is promoting it, since the government is implementing it, we have every right as a citizen of India to investigate and see if the yoga is good. Now when we ask this question, one of the immediate response is, how can you claim, how can you even doubt this yoga's benefit? It has been practiced for thousands of years, some say 16,000 years. 16,000 years our ancients were practicing it and they were all benefiting it, and you are doubting it because you are a Christian. Now this claim comes as a claim, Baba Ramdev ji has claimed it as a claim, and this has been used, the argument from the ancient has been used against the science as well. When you show them, demonstrate that through scientific experiments that yoga has not much benefit, they will say, how can science claim against this ancient tradition? We have been practicing it for so many years. And then there is a threat. Honorable member of the parliament, Yogi Adityanath, he said, if you oppose yoga or Surya Namaskar, you have three choices. Leave India, drown in the sea, or live in a dark room. International Business Times, June 9, 2015. So under these circumstances, we are going to investigate three questions. Is yoga practiced today, is it really ancient? Is it our heritage? We are all Indians. Once upon a time, it was our ancestors who started it. Is it really ancient? Is it said in the Hindu scriptures that you should practice yoga like this? Because there is a lot of emotions, correct? When you as a Christian, when you as an individual say that, what about yoga? Our Hindu friends gets emotional because you are doubting a Hindu practice. So I want to first check whether it is said like this. The yoga programs offered by those gurus, is it mentioned in the Hindu scriptures? And I will today demonstrate the yoga programs offered by these yoga gurus of this day is totally opposed to the Hindu scriptures. First I will show that. Second, the yoga programs offered today started in the medieval times, not in the ancient times. That is called Hatha Yoga. And I will also show that Hatha Yoga is based on baseless science. The anatomy of Hatha Yoga, after investigating the Hindu scriptures, I will demonstrate it. Then we will look into the scientific evidence for the so-called yoga benefits. And finally, we will see the biblical perspective on health and yoga as a darshan. So these are the three questions that we are going to do today. And as I said, the yogas that is practiced partially based on the Hatha Yoga was rejected by Swami Vivekananda ji and Maharishi Dayananda Saraswati ji. I will give you evidence for that. Swami Vivekananda ji in the last century, he completely rejected the yoga that is being currently practiced. He compared it to the Satan. I will demonstrate it. I will give you evidence from his work. And that is the yoga that is now offered to us. So first we will look into what the Hindu scriptures say, because they did not reject because they were biased. Swami Vivekananda ji did not reject Hatha Yoga because he was biased against Hindus. He rejected it because it has no basis in the Hindu scriptures. And then we will look whether yoga is really beneficial for health, at least physical, mental. Is there any real scientific evidence for that? We will look into that. And finally, we will look whether yoga is compatible with the Holy Bible or not. Is it mere an exercise? Is it compatible with the Holy Bible or not? So this, as I said, I have every right to investigate this as an individual citizen of this country and as well as a Christian. because it is our fundamental duty. Article 51A of AH says it is the fundamental duty of every citizen to develop the scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Since it is our fundamental duty, we are mandated to do it. And also as a Christian, the Bible mandates that we must test everything and hold fast what is good. So that is what we are going to do today. As a citizen, we are going to scientifically investigate it, and as a Christian, we are going to test, and if it is good, we will hold it. If it is not good, we will reject it. So before I start, let me give a few basics. When we say ancient, medieval, modern, we use it generally very loose, in very loose terms. 200 years ago also we say it is ancient. No. When the historians say it is ancient, they say from the time of the writing, when the actual writing came up to AD 500 is what they call as ancient. What they call as ancient is up to AD 500. And Romila Thapar, in her book History of Early India from Origins to AD 1300, she said at least to AD 800, in India's context, at least to AD 800 we should consider as ancient. So I will take any history book, any Sanskrit book, any Hindu religious book written up to AD 800 as ancient. And if the yoga that is practiced today is there in any of the books of the Hindu scriptures up to AD 800, then I will accept that it is an ancient Hindu practice. If it is after AD 800, then I will not accept it as a ancient practice, I will accept it as a medieval practice. Second, when I speak about Patanjali, I am not speaking about the brand. I will be speaking about Patanjali of the ancient yoga compiler. So please keep that in mind, because Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, I have bought different translations and commentaries on it. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is considered as the Bible of yoga. Yeah, all of these gurus claim that they all have their foundation in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So I will start with the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. But remember, Patanjali was a compiler. So from where did he compile? Which were the books that existed before Patanjali? You will see that these were the books of the Hindu, sacred books of the Hindus that existed before Patanjali. The first part from BC 1500 to BC 500, generally the texts of the Hindus were written, they are called as Srutis. Vedas we all know what those are. Those are sacrifices and rituals. Then we have Yajurveda, and then we have the Black Yajurveda, which is taken as the Veda in Black Yajurveda is taken in South India. White Yajurveda is in North India. There are two Yajurvedas. There is not one Yajurveda. Black Yajurveda and White Yajurveda. It is black in South, white in North. And then we have Samveda, then we have other Veda, then we have later we have up to Upanishads. Now this is literature is called as Shruti literature. Shruti literature is the most authoritative literature in the Hinduism. Then we have the Sutras. Sutras for the Christian mind are like systematic theology. We have Brahma Sutra, then you have Yoga Sutra, this is Brahma Sutra, you have Yoga Sutra. So you have such books actually which are systematization of the theologies before it. So you have 6 darshans in it. We will come to that. Then we have actually the Smritis, Idihas, Mahabharata, Ramayana. Then we have Dharma Shastras, Manusmriti. Then we have Puranas. Many of the Puranas were written in the medieval centuries. We all think that actually Puranas and all are very ancient. No, not all Puranas are very ancient. Some of them are very recent. In fact, if you look at the Shrutis were written, or the Rig Veda to the Upanishads were written during the Old Testament times. Same Old Testament times were the, so our Old Testament Bible is also as ancient as the Shrutis. Please remember that in your mind. And then we have minor Upanishads. Up to 18th century these Upanishads were written. These minor Upanishads were written up to the 18th century, 200 years back. And during that time, medieval time, the Hatha Yoga texts were written, and we will look into that. So please keep these basics in mind as we go to investigate. We start with the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Now what does Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra say? How does it define yoga? It says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the inhibition of mental process. Another translation says yoga is the inactivation of mental process. Now does that sound alarm? It is the inactivation of the mental process, and you taught your yoga, you are selling your yoga in the school saying that it will improve your concentration. Whereas the yoga definition says it will inactivate your mind. Now this is what you will have to remember. Patanjali's philosophy, Patanjali was a very gentleman. Patanjali was a very gentleman, and as an ancestor of ours, I respect him, and I will tell you why I respect him, though I disagree with him. I will tell you why I have huge respect for him compared to the modern day gurus. Because he was a person who could be argued and impressed by reason. He gave reason that much importance. Now in Patanjali's worldview, there is a Purusha and Prakriti. Now Purusha, it is not exactly equal to the soul as Christians think, but we can say, for our easy understanding, we can say Purusha is related to the soul. Now Prakriti is equivalent to mind and body. Remember that. Prakriti is equal to mind and body, and in the entire Patanjali's endure, it is actually to inactivate the Prakriti, which is the mind and body, so that the Purusha can see itself. As it says, then the seer is established in his own nature. This is Patanjali's yoga. Now Patanjali's yoga, now note this, Patanjali's yoga had high level. There are four chapters in Patanjali's yoga. First is the Samadhi Pada. In Samadhi Pada, Patanjali discusses about the meditation. Patanjali first discusses about the meditation. Then it is the Sadhana Pada. Sadhana Pada or the practice. And in the practice, first is 29 verses. Patanjali devotes himself again to discuss the philosophy. Now you must be thinking, in the modern day programs, asanas and pranayamas has high importance. Why didn't Patanjali come to it? What did Patanjali say about it? Now here is it. In the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, in the second chapter, Patanjali discusses about the 8 limbs of yoga, Ashtanga of yoga. Now remember this, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, you can progress from one limb to another in a sequence, only after you complete the first limb, you can go to the second limb, and only after you complete the second limb, you can come to the third limb. You cannot shortcut it, I will explain it. And in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the first limb is yama or restraint, and Patanjali says whoever wants to practice this yoga will have to be a celibate. He will have to be an unmarried person. Unless you are an unmarried person, you are a celibate, you have the vow of celibacy, you cannot practice Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Do you think that if they teach you this, they can promote this yoga here? Now my brothers and sisters, you might argue, oh, Patanjali said like that, but there might be exception. No. If Patanjali said in Yoga Sutra 2 verse 30, that you have to have this, in 231, he unambiguously and he very clearly said this, Sarva Bhuma Mahavridam. He said, Jadi Desha Kala, there is no difference, there are no exceptions based on the class, caste, circumstances, place, time. This is Sarva Bhuma Mahavridam. This is a vridam, this is a great vow applicable universally. He said there are no exemptions to this Mahavridam. Unless you practice it, you cannot come to the second limb. And unless you come to the second limb, how do you come to the asana? How do you come to the asana? So are they practicing this? Now again, Do you think that the ancient Rishi Patanjali would have taught this, how to overcome sexual disorders, treat with pranayama? He says this is a syllabus, is a Mahavridam, and you think that he would have taught all these things? Remember this, they are cooking up asanas and pranayamas as they go by. That is what I will come to it. These are not taught in any ancient scriptures. These are not taught even in the medieval text. They are just inventing it and giving it a name. In fact, there was one, Adaraniya Pattabi Jois. He was a yoga guru. He initially thought of implementing Patanjali's Yama and Nima and all. That was only until he went to California. Once he went to California and he got the hippies of California as disciples, he forgot about all those things. But Sarvabhuma Mahavridam means even in California it is applicable. My brothers and sisters, what does actually Patanjali say about the asana? Patanjali says, Stira Sugha Asanam. Stira Sugha Asanam, posture has to be firm and pleasant. That's it. Nothing much. Patanjali said, your posture has to be present and thus firm and pleasant. Now you might argue, oh, Patanjali is, though he said like that, that involves all these steps. That is what Yoga Guru BKS Iyengar argues. Though Patanjali said this, it actually involves all the steps, because if you have to be firm and pleasant, you will have to practice all that we actually are teaching. Is it right? We have two ways of testing it. As I said, Patanjali was a compiler, right? He was compiling from the previous text. So if we go back to the previous text, and if the previous text explains you how the asana should be, then that's it. And we can also take the later text. For example, Bhagavad Gita comes after the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. If Bhagavad Gita explains this asana very well, then that's it. Correct? We can take the text before, we can take the text after. If the people after him understood it like this, and if he has compiled it from the sources before him, and if that explains the asanas, that is it. So let us investigate, let us start investigating. I personally believe yoga of any kind is only from Upanishads. And in fact, I quote this from Mahabharata, book 6, Bhishma Parva. It says that having recourse to that yoga which is taught in the great Upanishads. So it is only from the great Upanishads actually you have the yoga. But these days they don't claim like that. These days they claim it was there in the Indus Valley civilization as well. These days they claim that it was there in the Vedas as well. No. But we will look at there some of the arguments, because it is there in the NCERT syllabus as well. Not only the yoga gurus, even the government proposed the NCERT syllabus claims it. Now what do they say about the Indus Valley civilization? This is Pashupati's hill. Pashupati's hill, you will see that one person is sitting there, correct? They say it is the yogic posture. Now I can take from Egypt, a scribe is sitting, and the scribe was practicing yoga. Now even if I take this as an argument, I get only one asana, correct? I get an asana where they sit. I accept it. But from where did all the other asanas come from? Now again, actually Indus Valley civilization was not even a Hindu civilization. In the Indus Valley civilization, you never have any horses. Not even horses in the seals, neither in the fossils. None of the secured layers of the Indus Valley civilization you will find even horse fossils. Remember that. Now our Hindutva ideologists will bring some horse fossils from non-secured layers of the Indus Valley civilization. Please remember that. Whenever they cite a fossil of a horse, it is not from a secured layer of Indus Valley civilization. There is a big difference. If it is from a non-secured place of the Indus Valley civilization, the evidence would have already been corrected, and it is not acceptable. Horse is very much required in the Rig Veda. Throughout the Rig Veda, if you read the translation, there is no Rig Vedic religion without horse. Now if horse is so much important in the Rig Veda, and if horse is totally missing in the Indus Valley civilization, Do you think that the Indus Valley civilization were Vedic people? No way. No way. Actually, we do not know much about the religion of the Indus Valley civilization. But what we know is that they were not Hindus. Again, if you look at the burial system, in the early Indus Valley civilization, it was only burial. It was only in the late Harappan culture, which is called as Harappan culture age, you will find cremation. Now that goes against Rigveda 10:16, because Rigveda 10:16 actually prescribes you the cremation. And if the Indus Valley civilization people were Hindus, why did not they have a cremation at all? I can understand cremation and burial simultaneously existing, but I cannot understand cremation not existing at all in the Indus Valley civilization. The point that I want to make is, these are all arguments. Whatever you want to see in the Indus Valley civilization, you are seeing it, not because actually the evidence are there. Again, when we come to the Vedas were written during the time of Prophet Moses. Prophet Moses, sage and seer Prophet Moses, were the contemporary of Rigvedic rishis. Don't give much date to it. If somebody has an argument, we can have a debate on it at a later time. But these are the evidences that they bring. These are the evidences that they bring from Rigveda to show that there were yogic practices in the Rigveda. Rigveda Mandala 10, hymn number 136. They say the Muni that is described here, was a yogi. Now, if you look at it, because he was girded in the wind, he wore garments soiled of yellow hue, and he was actually floating in the air. So if you float in the air, they say it is a yogi. Therefore, the Muni described in the Rigveda is a yogi. Therefore, the yoga existed. Now in the Rigvedic times, you could have offered sacrifices, got blessings from God, your God, and you could have achieved that power. What stops you from achieving it? So this is not actually an evidence. Again, Rigveda translated by two Malayalam Sanskrit scholars. These are well-known Malayalam Sanskrit scholars, and you cannot read it. But if you read it in Malayalam, which I have read it, it actually says that the Surya, the sun, is actually being described later. So if you float in the air, this is actually a description of the sun wearing yellow clothes. I can interpret it that way also. So there is no evidence in the Rigveda which says that actually that yoga existed. Again, Pattabi Sri Adaraniya Pattabi Joyce brings this Rigveda 1, hymn number 50. He says, rising this day, O rich friends, ascending to the loftier heaven, Surya, remove my heart's disease and take from me this my yellow hue. And he says this is a clear evidence for Surya Namaskar. How is it a clear evidence for Surya Namaskar? I can bring another 10 more Rigvedic hymns. Rigveda 1, hymn number 189. Far from us Agni put thou all diseases. Now there, in Surya's case, there was only one disease which was asked to be put away. Now in Agni's case, all diseases are to be put away. Now tomorrow if I invent some exercises like this and says that this is Agni Namaskar, and I say that I claim that this Agni Namaskar was described in Rigveda, and I bring this evidence, do you accept that? As a matter of fact, my brothers and sisters, Surya Namaskar is also not there. I will show you from where Surya Namaskar came from, which is actually a big emotional issue for both Christians, Muslims, Hindus and everybody. But Surya Namaskar is actually in this way, is not described in any single, not only Hindu text, any single Sanskrit text. Until the 18th century, it is not there. If somebody can show me from a single Sanskrit text, I am not asking Hindu religious scriptures. I am saying that single Sanskrit text, if you bring the Surya Namaskar steps, I will withdraw my argument and I will do one Surya Namaskar also. If you can show it. No way you can show it. There is no way you can show it. We will see that. Actually, it starts, as I said, it starts from the Upanishads. In Katha Upanishad, it speaks about Yama speaks about yoga. And Yama says, when the 5 organs of perceptions become still, together with the mind, and the intellect ceases to be active, that is called the highest state. The firm holding back of the senses is what is known as yoga. Matching with the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, right? This definition given by the Katha Upanishad matches with the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra definition. So Patanjali was a very good compiler in that way. We should give him all the credit for compiling it rightly. Now, to tell that this Yoga Sutra is actually helping you in health, wealth and happiness is actually insulting this entire Katha Upanishad. If you know the Katha Upanishad, if you have read the Katha Upanishad, you will know that actually this poor Brahmin boy had rejected. Yama had offered him everything. Yama had said, you take health. This poor Brahmin boy said, I don't want it because it will soon perish. You take wealth. I don't want it. I want the ultimate salvation. It is at that time Yama teaches him about the yoga, and if you say that this yoga was taught for health, wealth and happiness, how it will fit? Now, in the yoga, in the Katha Upanishad, there are no asanas mentioned. In the Katha Upanishad, there are no Surya Namaskars mentioned. But fortunately, when we come into the second, then we come into another Upanishad, Sevastarva Upanishad, we will see a clear definition of asana now. It says in 8, the wise man should hold his body steady with the 3 upper parts erect. Body, neck, head. Asana definition is your 3 parts, body, neck, head, 3 upper parts should be straight. Now tell me, I am taking this photo from the NCERT syllabus. How is it this as an asana? 2 of them are not asanas by the definition of Upanishad, correct? Your stretching cannot be an asana, because asana by the very definition of Upanishad, your 3 parts should be straight, and if your 3 part is not straight, it is not an asana. Again, breath, it doesn't define it much, but in place, asana can be, yoga can be practiced in a particular place. It says, let the yoga be practiced within a cave, protected from the high wind. I thought those who oppose yoga should go to the dark room. That is what the Honorable Yogi Adityanath said. But Upanishad says, if you want to practice, you should go to a cave. Now, which one we should follow? If you oppose, you should go to a cave, or if you want to practice, you should go to a cave. Actually, Upanishad very clearly says, if you want to practice, you better go to a cave. Now, the point that I want to drive is this. Think about it. It is commonsensical. If meditation is your intention, which was the intention of Adaraniya Patanjali, ancient Patanjali, then you should have a quiet place, correct? And if you want to sit and meditate for a long time, tell me which posture is good. You should sit straight, right? If you bend and sit, after some time it will start paining. The best position to sit and meditate or think about it is sit straight. Very commonsensical with the intention, but the purpose definition given in the Hindu scriptures. Now this is the yoga which they bring and teach us all very extremely dangerous and stretching positions, and they say that these were all mentioned in the ancient scriptures. No way, no way. In the ancient scriptures, it was a quiet place, sitting straight and meditating. Commonsensical and totally acceptable. Now, Maitri Upanishad, again another Upanishad before the Yoga Sutra, gives actually the 6 stages of yoga: control of breath, withdrawal of senses, meditation, concentration, contemplation, absorption. Show me where is asana. You see how much important asana was for those people, right? Asana is not even mentioned. 3 of the Upanishads, 2 asanas is not mentioned. It was not important. It was not that important. It was you should sit in a straight and a comfortable place. That's it. Now this is the same asana. If you look at 1 hour 25 minutes of Adaraniya Baba Ramdev ji, 45 minutes or 50 minutes he spends for this. Was it so important there? Not at all. Now, we have seen the books before Patanjali. Now, Idihas comes after the sutras. Mahabharata, there are 884 references to yoga. Out of that, only 2 references makes any mention to asana, and those 2 references are this Virasana, again sitting straight. You see, 884 references, two references to asanas, and those two references again matches with the definition that is given in the previous Upanishad. Now, Bhagavad Gita, which has almost become very authoritative for the modern day Hindu, in chapter 6 speaks about Sankhya Yoga or the Patanjali's Yoga. And Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6 very clearly defines the asanas. Again it says, you can read, go back and read Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 from 11 to 14. I haven't written everything. In a sacred and a purified place. Place is very important. You cannot conduct it in an auditorium. You cannot conduct it in a public ground. You cannot conduct it in Rajpath. You have to conduct it in a sacred and a purified place. Go to a cave. Go to a secluded place. And then it says, thereupon sitting firmly. Sitting. No standing, no stretching, sitting. And then it says, holding the body, head and neck straight. This is Bhagavad Gita's definition of asana. Now tell me, these 200 asanas which Adaraniya BKS Iyengar teaches, does it come from the Hindu scriptures? No, it doesn't come from the Hindu scriptures. At least it doesn't come from any of the ancient Hindu scriptures. We will see, we will see. And it says, it continues to say, fixed in the vow of celibacy. See, exactly as Patanjali's Yoga Sutra mentioned. Now, after this or along with this, we have the Vyasa's commentary on the Yoga Sutra. Again, it actually gives 12 different asanas. All of them are sitting asanas. There are no standing asanas. Similarly, Shankaracharya. This is Shankaracharya's Bhashya or Shankaracharya's commentary on the Yoga Sutra. You can check this book, I have written it. Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, I think all of us know, Adi Shankaracharya is one of the greatest gurus that ever existed in Hinduism. It is Shankaracharya who started the Shankara Math. It is Shankaracharya who converted the Buddhist India into the Hindu India. It is this Shankaracharya who wrote a commentary. And in this Shankaracharya, he says, letting go to a pure place such as a cave in a holy mountain or in an isolate of river. See, again the place is important because the purpose is meditation. The purpose is meditation. And in one of the places, in one of the mentioned places, he should take a seat, sitting position only, no standing position. Let him make his firm, let him make firm his hips, chest and neck and fix the gaze upon the nose tip. Again, three upper parts, sit straight. And he goes on to explain, but he says, the basic principles are the same with other postures to be described, although each has its own specific points. The basic principle is same. This is Adi Shankaracharya in the 8th century. Ancient is over, right? Up to 8th century, ancient is over. Now we will see, they will say, so we have here, all the modern day gurus, none of them are teaching any of the Hindu scriptures. They are not even teaching Srimad Bhagavad Gita. They are contrary, they are actually going against the book. If the book did not mention, you could have claimed that it is from the oral tradition. If there was an absence of definition, if the definition of asana was absent in the Hindu scriptures, we could have said, oh, we got it from our gurus. That is what they otherwise claim. It was passed on the oral tradition. But when the book clearly defines, the oral tradition cannot contradict the written tradition. The oral tradition should not contradict. Oral tradition can complement. Definitely oral tradition can complement, but oral tradition, if it contradicts with the written tradition or the written text, then what is the point of having a written text? Now they say, they all claim that is from Hatha Yoga, and Hatha Yoga, they present it as a wonderful science. Wonderful science. For Hatha Yoga, there are three texts. There are three basic texts. There are many texts, but these are the three basic texts. Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiva Samhita and Grantha Samhita. 15th century, 16th century, 17th century. These were when these texts were written. Now we will see Maharishi Swami Dayananda Saraswati in his autobiography. I am saying it is autobiography because you will see it in Wikipedia and other websites. You will see that Maharishi Dayananda Saraswati practiced Hatha Yoga. It is not right. This is his autobiography. This is not his biography. in his autobiography, he says this, I had with me Shiva Sandhya, Hatha Yoga Pradipika and the other texts which I used to study during my travels. And he says in this text there was lot of human anatomy which was written which confused him. I am summarizing it, which confused him. So he wanted an opportunity to check whether the text whether the human anatomy which is described in this text, like Grantha Samhita, Shiva Samhita, all these things were correct or not. So one day he was in the plain going by the river Ganges, and he saw a dead body floating around. So he said, this is the right moment to check whether the human anatomy described in these books is right or not. So he left his book, he bought the dead body, and he took a knife and opened the dead body. He dissected the dead body. He cut the head. He looked at all these things, whether the human anatomy, especially written in Shiva Samhita and all, whether they are correct. He said, this is what he said, the description given in this book did not tally at all with the actual details. I therefore tore the book to pieces and threw them into the river along with the corpse. He threw away all these books along with the dead body to the river, and these are the same books that they come and try to impose upon our children. We will look now what is actually said. Now you hear.
One meaning of hatha, which we have already looked at, means tenacity. To reshape the body, in a way, to re-engineer the whole system in a very fundamental way, takes a certain level of tenacity. This is not even for God, because it seems he took a holiday on Sunday. Yes, Shiva didn't, but from where you come, most of you, God took a break on Sunday. So he is not a Hatha Yogi, he cannot be. Hatha Yogi has a tenacity, there is no Sunday, Monday for him. He's on and on. Because if you don't do that, you cannot recreate a body which has already become an adult. This is recreating the body, means first time your body has been created largely from an information that has come from your parentage. What memory their bodies carried, what was one, two come together, and a more complex memory system is formed every time a child is born. So the shape of the body, the tone of how your system is, everything largely shaped from this memory. Now, if you are in a certain way, there are ways to do this. We can actually set up long-term experiments if somebody is willing to fund and do, we can show. Right now you trace back, let's say, 5 generations ago, my great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather was a great guy. He was very intelligent, very physically fit and capable of many things. I want to become like him. We can do certain type of yoga so that we are able to largely take that part of the memory in your system. Maybe your father was a weak man, you don't want to be like him, you want to be like your great-great-grandfather. There are certain types of yogas to identify that memory and activate that memory to the maximum. That will not be the only one, but that will dominate. Hatha means, ha means sun, tha means moon. To draw directly from our parentage. Essentially, our parentage is sun and moon and planet. These are the three. The planet is the womb, sun and moon in some way are impregnating, and this is happening. If there is no sun, there would be no life. If there is no moon, life wouldn't be the way it is right now, it would be probably some other way. So these three dimensions are playing an important role. So one aspect of hatha is to keep our parentage aside. My father, my grandfather, all these people, you keep them aside because ultimately all their lineage goes to sun and moon. You want to draw straight from that. That is what Hatha Yoga means. You bring such a balance that this intermediate transmission is lost and you draw directly from that as life was made. On the way, so much corruption has happened through millions of generations. You want to eliminate that and you want to draw straight from your father and mother. Sun is seen as the father, moon is seen as the mother.
Before I explain this, I want to make one disclaimer. In no way I am disrespecting our ancestors. Because what I am going to say, you will think that our ancestors were dumb. No. The anatomy, human anatomy, they thought, were actually similarly understood in many civilizations. But with the modern technology and science, we understood that what they said is wrong. Because I am going to explain certain things which will shock. It is not genetic re-engineering, human re-engineering and all. That is not the Hatha that is mentioned in the Hatha Yoga text. But there is no other civilization which takes the foolishness of the ancestors and packages it as a modern science. That is what I am worried. I am not worried about what is said in this text because they had no access to the modern science. I am worried taking this text and presenting it as a genetic science. That is what I am worried. So in no way I am disrespecting them. I am only questioning the repackaging of that. Now let us look to the text to see what sun and moon and what Hatha is. This is anatomy from the Shiva Samhita. Shiva Samhita I have taken directly from the Shiva Samhita, and now you will see the moon. The moon, it says in Shiva Samhita chapter 2, 6 to 7. Moon is actually this is what you need to understand. In the Hatha Yoga, human body, the microcosm is like the macrocosm. This is called the Brahmanda. And the moon sits in the head, and it rains nectar. It rains nectar from every day, from morning to evening, morning to night, throughout 365 days, 24 hours, it rains nectar, and the sun which sits on the abdomen consumes all that. That is what the Hatha Yoga text says. But that is what the Hatha Yoga text says. So you will have to remember, the moon actually sits in the human body, moon sits in the head, and this has its face downwards and rains nectar day and night. This nectar is the life-giving force. This nectar is the life-giving force. And who eats this life-giving force? Sun which sits in the abdomen, right? And how it is all connected, we will see it. How it is all connected, we will see it. Now he has even misquoted this. He said, according to Hatha Yoga, sun is the life-giving force, correct? No. According to Hatha Yoga, moon is the life-giving force. And this actually matches with the Hindu cosmology that existed at that time. Hindu cosmology, if you read Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, I am the moon which gives the nectar of life. According to them, moon was giving the life. So even he twisted that. Not only he twisted that, actually if you see, sun is in the navel and moon is in the head. Grantha Samhita, I have taken it from the Grantha Samhita. The nectar that comes from the moon is consumed by the sun and the life force is gradually being used up away. So how can you save this life force? The nectar that actually rains from the head, you stand upside down. If you stand upside down, the nectar is falling from the head, correct? So it will no longer fall to the body. This is why they stand upside down. Can you believe that? They are saving the life-giving nectar force by standing upside down. Now this is all presented as a big science. There is no big science. This is actually baseless science. Grantha Samhita chapter 3 verse 28 to 30 and Grantha Samhita chapter 3 verse 30 to 35 in different translations. Now this nectar that actually is raining from the head, from the moon, if you can save it, one way is to stand upside down, but you cannot always stand upside down, correct? So there has to be other ways of saving it. Other ways of saving it is given in Hatha Yoga Pradipika chapter 3. Your tongue, you start cutting. At the end, that tip actually you start cutting, and in 6 months actually this connect is totally given. So you can extend your tongue. This is given. This is called Kechari Mudra. And this mudra is a big mudra. This mudra is the mudra of mudras. Your tongue, you totally take it out, not totally in this thing, you totally disconnect the end part and then you twist it. The tongue can keep it. Because when you twist it and keep it, then it stops the nectar that is actually raining from the head to the consumed by the sun. This is done even now. There are some of our Hindu friends who does even now this Kechari Mudra. Fortunately, this is not taught in the NCERT syllabus. Fortunately, this is not even taught by the modern day gurus, because if they teach it, people will expose them. People will know that this is what their science is. But if you practice this Kechari Mudra, you will get an excitement. That is true. You will get a special feeling. That is why some of them do it. But how does it work? Actually, it works like the choking game, which is, you know, the choking game which is practiced by the European kids, the US kids. They choke themselves. If you choke themselves, if you cut off the oxygen to the brain and suffocate yourself, and when you suddenly release it, you get a big excitement. This choking game is what is they are playing as Kechari Mudra, and they are saying as that it is a life nectar saying this thing. But though fortunately it didn't teach the Kechari Mudra, the NCERT syllabus speaks about the Bastrika Pranayama. So fast you breathe, rapidly you breathe. Rapidly you breathe, and some of these yoga gurus says you are oxygenating yourself. Nonsense. It is not oxygenating yourself. You cannot take oxygen, intake of your oxygen, you cannot do like that. But when you fast breathe, what happens is carbon dioxide level goes down. It is actually, science says the other ways, carbon dioxide level goes down. And when the carbon dioxide level goes down, the nervous system actually contracts. Again, the same principle of the choking system. The oxygen supply gets cut. And this is taught in our NCERT syllabus. Choking game, but a little more risk-free choking game. You want your children to be taught about choking game? In the US and UK, they are trying to prevent it. You can go to the internet and see somehow they want to stop the teenagers from doing it. And India, we are promoting it, choking game by other name. Now my brothers and sisters, this is what Bastrika Pranayama is all about. Bastrika Pranayama also, when he does it, it actually awakens the Kundalini Yoga. Now you all know about it, all those who have heard about it, but this is the feeling, this is the feeling that they get, and they think actually they have attained a spiritual awakening. They haven't attained any spiritual awakening. This is actually just a choking game by another name.
You must have the necessary sadhana. Otherwise, no memory, no consciousness, this will go… People may die soon. It's possible. If one distances himself from his genetic memory and does not do the necessary work that is needed to rebuild the system, his system may collapse within a certain period of time, because it's the memory that is in the genetic substance which holds the body in a certain level of integrity.
Adaraniya Sadguru actually says that if you don't practice this, you might die. If you don't practice it properly, your system may collapse. Actually, it is true. If you practice it in a risky way, the children can actually die by doing all these practices. He admits it, but he says it is a re-engineering process. In the re-engineering process, if you don't do the re-engineering correctly, then you might die. It is not the re-engineering process, it is a choking game. In the choking game, if you don't do it properly, don't take out the tongue at the proper time, you will die. Now, I am going to explain something more. This will shock, but before that I wanted to tell what Swami Vivekananda ji had to say about the Hatha Yoga. This is not just my opinion, and I think Adaraniya Swami Vivekananda ji compared it with the satanic force because he knew what was taught in the Hatha Yoga text. When Swamiji was asked that whether he has the siddhis, whether he has the powers that is granted by the Hatha Yoga yogis, he said, what have those things to do with the religion? He asked, do they make a man pure? The Satan of your Bible is powerful, but differs from God in not being pure. He compared Hatha Yoga almost to Satan. Was it a correct comparison? We are going to see. This is directly taken from Hatha Yoga Pradipika, chapter 3, one of the mudras, Vajroli Mudra. Now this mudra, in this mudra, it says even if one lives wayward life without observing any rules of yoga, but performs Vajroli, deserves success and is a yogi. And what is it? It is a pivot sexual practice. You read it for yourself. It says, a woman behaving, and another translation it says a willing woman. Any willing woman with you can practice this sexual perversion. What they do is, you can read it because it is shameful even to read it. That is why I have put it completely here. Now, if you teach your children Hatha Yoga, do you think that these days the children will not go and check the text? In the earlier generation, probably they did not have access. If you teach Hatha, if you know this, by practicing to draw in Bindu, Bindu is the semen, discharge during cohabitation, whether one be a man or a woman, one obtains success in the practice of Vajroli. It is actually the semen is emitted and you take back the semen through the same organ. This perversion, if you practice it, you have attained the status of a yogi. This is given in Hatha Yoga text. You can go Google it. These your texts are even available free. You don't have to buy like me. You can actually take it directly from the internet. Do you think that our children, if you give Hatha Yoga, if you give Hatha Yoga a status, do you think that our children will stop at what you teach? No way. Our children are going to see, my parents and my teachers told Hatha Yoga is a great science, let me investigate more. And when they investigate more, they see all these perversions. This is why Swami Vivekananda ji compared it to the Satan. Again, there are other mudras, only different kinds of Vajroli. Now this is even more worse. This is even more worse. The Bindu, what they say is the semen. Discharged in the practice of Vajroli should be mixed with ashes of the cow dung, and then it should be applied into your body. What a great practice, what a great science. It is called re-engineering of genetics. This is what is there in the text. I am not making it up. Now you decide whether you want to practice Hatha Yoga or not. This is the basis of Hatha Yoga, which they will not tell you. They will say sun is the life-giving force, moon and the sun and the moon and the earth, mother. So it is all re-engineering. That is all cooking up stories. This is what is actually sun, moon, and how you preserve the nectar. Now Swami Vivekananda ji, remember, Swami Vivekananda ji was not healthy. So at one time, he thought of using Hatha Yoga, then he stopped it. He did not even go into the first step, he stopped it. This is given in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, volume 7, Conversations and Dialogue. Swami Vivekananda ji, despite having health issue, he did not do Hatha Yoga. If Swami Vivekananda ji did not do it, why should you do it? Tell me, why should you do it? Tell me, why should you practice it? Make your children learn all this baseless science. Now you must have seen this, including our Honorable Prime Minister sitting in the Rajpath and breathing through one nostril and inhaling through one nostril and exhaling to the other, right? Now you want to know about the science of it, right? I'll tell you the science. Now you go to Adaraniya Baba Ramdev ji. Adaraniya Baba Ramdev ji, he will say it will cure lungs, it will cure cancer, it will cure anything. But the science is this. Now there are many nadis, correct? Many nadis, because how does the nectar from the moon travel to the sun in the navel, correct? You must wonder how does it travel? So for it to travel, there are some channels, there are some nadis. So in Shiva Samhita, actually it says that there are 350,000 channels. These are big numbers, you don't have to worry about it. From 350,000 they will come down. So from 350,000, he says only 14 are principal ones. So you don't have to remember 350,000, you will have to remember only 14. Out of the 14, only 3 are chief. So basically you will have to remember only 3. 350,000 is only to excite children. Oh, 350,000, nobody will name 350,000, only 14 are named. Out of 14, only 3 are important. And 3, if you actually, there is a one nadi which goes straight, and then on the right side, when you look at like this, on the right side is the moon nadi, and the left side is actually the sun nadi. So the moon nectar falls through this and the sun nectar. Now the question is, if the nectar flows through this channel, if this channel is impure, Can the nectar flow correctly? No, correct? So to clear off this channel, they thought that since you have this nostrils, it actually is a tube which is going on. We know from modern science actually it is only one, right? So they stop. If you have a tube, if you have tube with two ends, how do you clear off the dust? You close the one end and you blow air into that one side, and then you open it. That is the same logic. You inhale through the one, stop the other one, and then exhale to this. They thought that there are two channels. Actually, in science says that there is only one. Actually, after this few inches, it is only one. But that is a science. That is a science actually they do. It is there in Grantha Samhita chapter 4:35, Shiva Samhita chapter 3 verse 22. This is why they sit and do. Is this a science that you want to teach your children at this modern age? Now, pranayama. Why do they do pranayama? In Grantha Samhita chapter 4:35, it says that the Vayus cannot enter, that we have seen. And then Hatha Yoga Pradipika chapter 2 and Grantha Samhita chapter 5, it says life is breath, right? Life is breath. If breath is not in you, there is no life, right? So if you can stop this breath, look at their understanding of life. If you can stop this breath within you, then your life can be prolonged. They thought that our human body is like balloon. If you blow into the balloon and if you keep the balloon like this, as long as you can keep the air inside, the balloon stays like that. But if you release the air, the life goes. Does the life work like that? That is why they do this kind of pranayama. Then sit there for few minutes. You are increasing your life. This is the original explanation. Now, because they cannot tell you what the original explanation is, they will come up with many other explanations. Again, other cleansing process. Now you have seen one cleansing process. You have seen other pranayama. Prana means breath. Yama means restrain. Restraining the breath. Now there is another cleansing process. Incidentally, it is mentioned in the NCERT. They don't ask the children to practice it, but they mention about it. These are 6 cleansing processes described in the Hatha Yogic text. And then they go on to say this, name those, and they say these are beneficially used to clean the internal organs of the system. You are teaching your children that some of this cleansing process is beneficially used to cleanse the internal organs. I am showing you one. Grantha Samhita chapter 1, 40 to 41. Let him swallow slowly a thin cloth, 4 fingers wide. Then let him draw it out again. This is called Vastra Dauti. You actually swallow 4 finger wide cloth inside. Do you think that it is a healthy practice? Grantha Samhita says, the NCERT syllabus says, this is used to internally cleanse the internal organs. My brothers and sisters, if an external object goes into your body, it is actually harmful. Even when doctors actually check, they do the sterilized one, not the ordinary cloth. You put it inside, actually it can turn your intestines also upside down. This is what NCERT syllabus teaches. This is what our government wants to take it into a modern advanced world by teaching all these things. And it says it can cure leprosy. Look at their understanding about the leprosy. Now, as I said, I don't have any problem in this anatomy described in these books, because this was written at an age when they did not have the advanced technology to learn it. That is why I showed you, demonstrated to you that even in China they had such kind of things. But to package it now and teach us is a wrong thing. That's what all I am saying. Now I don't know why our Hindu friends wants to promote this Hatha Yoga. Because Shiva Samhita says, Shiva Samhita and Hatha Yoga Pradipika actually mocks at Vedas. Mocks at Vedas. Hatha Yoga Pradipika says Vedas and Shastras are like ordinary human, ordinary public human. You can understand what they mean by it. But the mudras they teach is like a secluded, respectable woman. I want to ask my Hindu friends, do you want me to consider your Vedas and Shastras as ordinary public human? But that is what the Hatha Yoga text says. Even Hindus should oppose it. That is why Swami Vivekananda ji opposed it. That is why Maharishi Dayananda Saraswati opposed it. Now my brothers and sisters, even if you accept the Hatha Yoga as the foundation, They don't even follow Hatha Yoga. That is the funniest thing. Because even in Hatha Yoga, except for the Vajroli Mudra and the other mudras that I have described, you cannot practice Hatha Yoga with a woman. You should be aloof from the woman. Now Shilpa Shetty is there. Is he following even Hatha Yoga text? Now, even the funniest part is, even Hatha Yoga doesn't mention all these asanas that we see right now. Hatha Yoga also doesn't mention all these asanas. Grantha Samhita chapter 2 says there are 84 hundreds of thousands of asanas. Now you say, oh, 84 hundreds of thousands of asanas, oh, they have described all. No. As I said, they will tell you first the big number to excite you. Then they will come down. He says, out of that 84 are important. 84, he has come down to 84. Now then he says, of which 34 are useful for the mankind. So actually only 32 are mentioned, not 34, 32 are mentioned. That is in Grantha Samhita. In Shiva Samhita, only 15 asanas are mentioned. And in Shiva Samhita, in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, only 15 are mentioned. And in Shiva Samhita, only 4 are mentioned. Maximum 32. Only 32 are mentioned. But Adaraniya B.K.S. Iyengar-ji himself gives us 200 asanas. From where did all these asanas then come from? If it is not even there in the Hatha Yoga text, from where did all these asanas come from? Now, Tirumala Krishnamacharya, who was the guru of all these gurus, he was the guru of Pattabi, Sri Adaraniya Pattabiji, he was the guru of Adaraniya B.K.S. Iyengar-ji. Now, Tirumala Krishnamacharya was asked this question, Guruji, from where did you get all these asanas? He said he got it from a Sanskrit text called Yoga Rahasya. And one of his disciples, Srivatsa Ramaswamy, asked him, where can I find that text? He said, it is there in the Saraswati Mahal library in Tanjore, Tamil Nadu. Poor disciple called the library, and the library is told such a text never existed there. Now again, Yada Guru Tada Sishya. Sri Pattabi Joisji. He was asked, from where did you got all this text from, all these asanas from? He again quoted another book, and he was asked to show the book. He said, and ate it. Even the poor ant will be shocked by this accusation. Now this is all there in this book. This is a very well researched book. I am not cooking up the stories. This is there in the book called Yoga Bodhi. These 2 incidents that I mentioned are there in the Yoga Bodhi book. Now the same author gives us actually this exercises. So you see, the first one is a Western one. The published in 1889. 1889 April 1889 it was published, the Western style. Now the same thing 1966 Krishnamacharya practices it. So you know from where it came from, correct? This is the actual Yoga Rahasya. It is taken from Western gymnastics, circus and the other practices. Again, April 1889, you see the first photo. That is the Western guy. 1966, Tirumala Krishnamacharya. Again, if you sit like this, then this is Western gymnasium. If you fold your hand, then it becomes asana. You see actually where these asanas come from. It is not even there in the Hatha Yoga text. Now there is one book by Bihar School of Yoga. This is a book, Bihar School of Yoga. They have published this book, and in this book they were honest enough to say about the Surya Namaskar. It says this dynamic group of asanas is not a traditional part of Hatha Yoga practices, as it was added to the original asana group at a later time. They don't mention the type, at least they were honest enough to admit that Surya Namaskar was never part. Now where did this Surya Namaskar come from? Where did this Surya Namaskar that we stand straight, then actually touch your feet without bending your knees, from where did this come from? This comes from this Maharaja. He has written a book, The 10-Point Way to Health, Surya Namaskar. Sriman Balasavit Pandit Pranandi Raja found Pune. This Raja was a well-beloved Raja. Again, I respect him just as I respect Patanjali, ancient Patanjali. Because if you look, I'll tell you the reason why I respect him. When he wanted to introduce Surya Namaskar, though he was a Raja, he called the public and he explained to them. And only after getting their agreement, he introduced it. See, even in an autocratic country, he was more democratic than our democratic leaders. And then he wanted to test it. So I trust him. If he says something, I trust him. So he said his parents used to practice some Surya Namaskar. I trust him. I don't go and ask for a book that is eaten by hand. I trust him at his word. But he says he made several changes. He says chapter 10 in the same book, Evolution of Surya Namaskar, he says there were several changes that he made to the Surya Namaskar. In the initial Surya Namaskar, you don't have to stand straight. You can stand like anything. And when you bend, you don't have to keep your knees straight. If you want to touch your feet, and if you don't have to keep your knees straight, is it an exercise? Anybody can touch, correct? I also touch. But if you want to keep the knees straight and then touch, it becomes exercise. He says he is the one who introduced it. He is the one who introduced it. And it was not necessary to stand erect at the beginning. It was not even necessary to stand straight. And nor was the foot brought along line with the palms. These exercises and all, he introduced it in the last century. So the Surya Namaskar that you see right now, and which they claim that the ancients were practiced, were introduced in the last century. This is how ancient it is. Now we have seen about the asanas, we have seen about the Hindu scriptures, we have seen about how these asanas came from, we have seen how the Surya Namaskar came from. Now Adaraniya Sadguruji said that if there is a way to test, we would have tested it. There is a way to test. We will now test very quickly during the because of the shortage of time, we will check whether it is actually beneficial. For the physical activity, the golden standard for measuring the physical activity is VO2 max. Volume, V stands for volume, O2 stands for oxygen, max for maximum, the maximum intake of oxygen that you can take. This is not a test actually created to test the yoga. This is a test, this is actually a criteria used in American Heart Association, US Army, the science of running. Even if you go for a test, physical fitness, actually they make you run in the treadmill actually because of this criteria. And this criteria, there were several studies which were done. There were several studies. Some showed that okay, yoga is beneficial. Some showed that yoga is not beneficial. So in 2007, they wanted to settle this question for once and for all. And in 2007, they brought the best of the researchers from Columbia University and Brooklyn campus, some of the best known names. They brought the best of the participants, Bikram Yoga, World Yoga Center, and they brought the best of the scientific equipment, metabolic chamber. So you cannot actually, they have done design, participants, methodological measurement, everything was the best that was available. And what is the result says? Here is the result. Yoga across the entire session for 52 minutes is less than slow walking for 6 minutes. Yoga done for 52 minutes is not even beneficial like slow walking done for 6 minutes. And any saving grace is actually only the Surya Namaskar created or recreated by the Raja of Aundh, Honorable Raja of Aundh. That comes at least close to the slow walking. If you can walk fast in the treadmill for 6 minutes, if you can walk fast in the treadmill for 6 minutes, it is far better than doing the entire yoga for 52 minutes. Which one will you choose? If you want to choose an inefficient system, go and teach your children inefficient system. Scientifically, there is no, as far as physical activity is concerned, there is no scientific evidence that it actually benefits physically. And then the conclusion says, it's actually lower levels of physical activity, similar to walking on a treadmill at 3.2 km per hour, and do not meet the recommendations. Do not meet the recommendation. This is the conclusion drawn from that research. Now, why do you want to do the entire yoga for physical? As far as physical activity is concerned, it is an inefficient system. Now, what about the mental health? Mental health, the status of the research, it came in the alternative complementary medicine, because this is actually promoted as an alternative complementary medicine also. It came and the research said they have actually studied all the researchers, because if you go to Google, you will find several of the research studies says that it is beneficial, it is not beneficial, so you are confused. So the peer review, they reviewed all the researchers and they said there is no research which can actually trust as of now, because they are all invalid estimates. As of now, there is no research actually which proves that it is actually good for the mental health. For example, again for sleeping, you think that yoga actually helps you in mental health and sleeping. In the insomnia diagnosis and treatment, actually it says that it is unknown how much of the benefit gleaned from yoga in the previous studies have been found using the traditional relaxation procedures. If you sit and relax, that is equal to yoga, doing yoga and sitting and relax. There is no much technique in that. It says that it is unknown. Unless some studies like the physical activity where it clearly established that it is not beneficial, as of now we don't have a valid study to claim either way. Either way. Now, if you want me to bring studies, I will also bring studies. This is in 2060s. Attending church is the key to good health, mental health among the Europeans. Now, tomorrow onwards, you please start attending church because your mental health will improve. Done by London School of Economics. This came out, but we won't use it because this is not how we promote the Christianity. We won't use it. First of all, we will have to see whether the same value, whether these are valid values. This is done, the design, the study and all that done. But just I wanted to show an example saying that if you want to bring studies, I can also bring 100 studies saying that Christianity, attending the church itself is good. But there has to be a clear study to prove it. Now you can ask, who cares? Why bother? There is no harm, right? Who cares about your physical activity? I actually am doing, probably it doesn't help my physical, it doesn't help my mental, fine, who cares? I will do it. Now, there are injuries. There are injuries if you do the yogas. Injuries can happen. 2014, only the emergency, they had done a study for the last 10 years, 2001 to 2014, 29,590 cases, emergency cases alone were admitted in the US. Yoga emergencies. Now, emergencies are tip of the iceberg because not every yoga injury you will go to the emergency, right? This is only tip of the iceberg. Now, again, National Institute of Health, US, they did a study. All the 76 of the reported cases, they took 76 cases and they studied those 76 cases and they said 66 of cases had no preconditions that were associated with the adverse events. 66 out of 76 would have been saved if they did not do yoga. They did yoga and then they injured themselves. That is what the National Institute of Science says. Now you might say that this is all US study. Bring me an Indian. Here is Dr. Ashok Rajagopal. Dr. Ashok Rajagopal is actually a well-known ortho in India. He says, Dr. Ashok Rajagopal says he has performed knee replacement surgery on a number of leading yoga gurus. This is India. You want to do knee replacement? Please do yoga. They don't tell you. They don't tell you. But this is a doctor who has done knee replacement for them. And he says, this is the same, even the US study identified this. Vajrasana actually is one of the dangerous positions. This is a dangerous position for you to sit. Now you might ask, if this is so dangerous, this is so injurious, why is the US actually allowing it even as an alternative medicine? The US allows it with a clear National Institute of Health says, performed under the guidance of an experienced and medically trained yoga teacher. See, if you have a specific ailment, they might suggest you a specific exercise. That is what the US does. Under a medically trained yoga teacher. Do you think that the yoga teachers prescribed to our Maharashtra schools are medically trained? I want to see their medical certificates, their educational certificates. They are not trained. We are actually promoting a dangerously, actually it is going to morally and physically harm our children. In fact, American Heart Association, in 2013, they have a scientific statement and they say that yoga, actually they not only studied yoga, they studied all the alternative medicines and this is what they had to say about yoga. Thus the writing group ascribed yoga to class 3, no benefit, level of evidence 3. What is class 3? Class 3 is this. Class 3, if you look at it, class 3 comes it is actually a direct photo from there. class 3 benefit, class 3 is no benefit, may cause injury. Not recommended at this point of time. Not recommended at this point of time. As far as physical activity health is concerned, it is against it. Mental health, we do not know. Heart, if you have BP, please don't practice it because it is level C. Now, let me conclude by asking, is the yoga compatible with the Holy Bible? Hatha yoga, is it compatible as a package? Is it compatible with the Holy Bible? It is not. But some of the circus steps or some of the gymnastic steps at which they promote it as asanas, if it is proven to be beneficial, only those steps under the guidance of a medically trained person, probably you can do it, but not as the entire package. Package you cannot do it entirely. My brothers and sisters, actually Bible has a much more wider perspective on health. In the Holy Bible, the ultimate truth is a triune God. Triune God is not only personal, He is a relational God. Remember that. He is a relational God. And He created, as we learned in the first session, He created this mind, body and spirit. There is a clear link between mind, body and spirit.
In a way, to re-engineer the whole system in a very fundamental way takes a certain level of tenacity. This is not even for God, because it seems He took a holiday on Sunday. Yes, Shiva didn't, but from where you come, most of you, God took a break on Sunday, so He is not a Hatha Yogi, He cannot be. Hatha Yogi has a tenacity, there is no Sunday, Monday for him, he's on and on.
Now you have heard this video before, that he says that your God cannot be a Hatha Yogi. First of all, God does not need to be a Hatha Yogi, He doesn't have anything to re-engineer, He doesn't have anything to be made perfect. Now after learning Hatha Yoga, I am thankful that God is not Hatha Yogi. Now my brothers and sisters, this is what I said about relational. When Bible speaks about health, it gives it a much broader perspective. You have 6 days you shall do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest. Your ox and your ongi may rest, and the son of your female servant may be rest, and the stranger may be refreshed. This is what the Bible speaks about the relaxation. My brothers and sisters, I am challenging the Hatha Yogis to work 7 days per week and do Hatha Yoga. I am asking our Hindu friends to work 7 days per week throughout the 365 days. Can you do? No, you need at least 1 day rest, right? That is prescribed by the Holy Bible. And this relaxation technique that the Bible has taught is not only physical, but it actually transforms the entire society. You know, Yerugundala Pereya from Ongole, Andhra Pradesh, he was a pioneering missionary there. He was once a Raja Yogi, and then he became a Christian. He was a Dalit, and through him many other Dalits in Ongole became Christians. And when they became Christians, there were 3 laws made to them, and one of the law was you will not work on a Sunday. Now when the Dalits said that we will not work on a Sunday, the upper caste got agitated. How can you tell me that you will not work on Monday? You have to work whenever I want. Now at that time the Christians fought for it and they won the right. What I am trying to say is, not only the health, it actually sets you freedom, right? You are not a slave of your company owner. 1 day is for you. You are not a slave of the upper caste. Dalits have 1 day free. This biblical relaxation technique is completely revolutionary. My brothers and sisters, again, law regarding the leprosy. You have seen actually how they cured the law earlier, right? In the Hatha Yoga, how they cured the leprosy, you have seen it by inserting the cloth. But in the Bible written in the Rigvedic times, as I said, Prophet Moses was a contemporary of Rigvedic rishis, Vedic rishis. He said, he shall be unclean all the days he has a sore, he shall be unclean, he is unclean, and he shall dwell alone, and his dwelling shall be outside the camp. Isolation. My brothers and sisters, in the 17th century, in the 18th century beginning, in Denmark, the leprosy spread like a plague. at that time science did not have the knowledge that it was actually a bacteria. So they did not actually isolate anybody. But the biblical preachers started preaching to them that you must isolate because it is a biblical principle. And finally the government, because it did not have any other option, they did it. And as a result, leprosy came down. It was only later, in 1873, it was in Norway in the 17th century, it was only in 1873, after 3,500 years after Prophet Moses said, the science discovered the reason for the Mosaic law. Which is more scientific? I am thankful to God that Prophet Moses did not patent this idea. If he had patented this idea, or our isolation whenever there is a plague, we should have had paid to him. Now, Bible can create Swachha Bharat without cess. Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 13 to 14. You shall have a place outside the camp. You shall dig it and turn and cover your refuse. Indian Express says that the biggest challenge to Swachha Bharat is not the stumbling block, is not the lack of enough toilets, but the difficulty in convincing people to start when I read this, I was only wishing that we had a similar foundation, that the biblical foundation which gave to the Israel and the others. Swachha Bharat without cess. My brothers and sisters, let me come to the conclusion. In another 5 minutes I will conclude. But as Christians, I want to ask a question. As Christians, what is your Christianity? You also have a Purusha. The problem, the danger of the current day Christianity is they think just like the Patanjali. You have a Purusha and you have Prakriti, which is body and mind. Body and mind should not be there in the spiritual at all. If you go to any normal Christian and say, what mind? Why should we think? Why should we involve in the social activities? But there is a close link between body, mind and spirit. Bible doesn't differentiate it, neither we should differentiate it. In the 1860, the harshest critic of the evangelical said this: when the history of the evangelical party is written, it will be told of them that they worked manfully in the pestilential and heathen byways of our city and preached the gospel to the poor. It was there the William Wilberforce came. It was where the Sir Anthony Ashley Cooper, all the evangelicals worked for the betterment of the London society. London society. Are we working for the Mumbai slums? Thames was worse than the Ganges. Thames of Europe was worse than the Ganges. Slums of Europe were worse than the Mumbai slums. But with Sir Edward Chadwick, London City Mission worked and cleansed that slum. If we believe, it is our God who created the earth, it is our God who created the body, it is our God who created the mind, are we working to cleanse the slums of India? It is, as we criticize others, it is a criticism, self-criticism as on. In the last days, slums of Mumbai will rise up and testify against the Christianity in Mumbai. My brothers and sisters, let me conclude it. Not only as a health package, we have a much bigger darshan. Let me conclude it because of the shortage of time. In the Hinduism, there are two types of darshan. One is the Karmaganda, another is the Jnanaganda. The Karmaganda, don't think that the Karmaganda is actually doing any act. As Baba Sahib Ambedkar said, Karmaganda is the sacrifices and rituals, which is said in the Vedas. And Jnanaganda is not any knowledge. Jnanaganda is the Gnostic knowledge, secret knowledge, mystical knowledge. And even Vivekananda ji has actually said about it. Karmaganda includes various sacrifices and ceremonies, of which the larger part has fallen into the disuse of the present age. Once upon a time, in the Vedic religion, the only way of salvation was sacrifice. It was only in the Upanishads the mystical knowledge came. Swami Vivekananda ji says the sacrificial method has fallen into disuse. I want to tell the my Hindu brothers and sisters who will hear it in the YouTube or he will hear it in this thing, Karmaganda has not fallen into the disuse. Prophet Moses spoke about the Karmaganda or the sacrificial method in the Bible, and that has been fulfilled in the Mahayatna of Yeshu Mashiach. In the Yeshu Mashiach that you have the salvation. The yogi seeks after the experience. The Vedanti speaks after the knowledge. What we preach, Yeshu Mashiach and his Mahayajna. And that Mahayajna alone is the way of salvation. And that Mahayajna has performed conceptually. I am not saying that Karmaganda of the Rig Veda is absolutely similar to the Karmaganda of the Bible. But conceptually they are same. Conceptually they are same. Details different. Conceptually both believe that sacrifices will take you to the salvation. And that ancient knowledge has been fulfilled only and only in our Lord Jesus Christ. And in that, we as Christians have fulfilled the wishes of our ancestors. May God bless us.
Thank you, Brother Jerry. Since we all know that it's already late and everybody must be waiting, so we are limiting ourselves to take only 3 questions. So if anybody has questions, you may please go ahead. Sure.
Correct. As I said, what I was trying to say is, as of now, the studies actually presents both the ways. As much as there are ill effects, there are studies which shows that there are effects. But the only problem with the studies, as the alternative medicine showed, there are not reliable studies where we can trust them. There is no definite study like the physical activity where we can actually say, okay, this is a definite study designed in a proper way, measured in a proper way, done with all the controls that should be in place. There is no definite study, at least that is what the peer review says. That is why I do not go into the conclusion, though as you rightly said, there are many studies which shows the ill effects. I didn't want to use it because I did not know how reliable those are. Correct. I actually, if you have noticed, Bastrika Pranayama, which I said in the during the presentation, which is suggested by NCRT. If the children does a lot of it, actually it was only for Bastrika Pranayama said, but in the Hatha Yoga text it says 100 and 150. If the children do 100 and 150, it is definitely going to damage them. It is definitely going to damage them. So as far as what the NCRT syllabus teaches, if the children does it, the number actually that is prescribed, it is going to harm them. There is no doubt about it. It is going to, pranayama is actually going to harm them.
Thank you so much, sister. I think one brother has a question.
Brother Jerry, one of the important aspects, being a Hindu myself who has come to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, I'm very concerned about the spiritual aspect of yoga. You know, the worship, who is it that a Hindu is unknowingly worshipping, or a Christian is unknowingly worshipping or giving his worship to spiritually when they perform yogic, I won't call it exercises, but process, the process of yoga. Thank you.
Again, thank you, brother, for asking that question. Again, I haven't dealt that aspect. I purposely, when we discussed actually with brother Naren, all of us discussed it, we purposely avoided it because for this reason, as you rightly said, there is a spiritual aspect. We purposely avoided it because if this presentation is taken to the court, we want to use only those evidences which can be proved in the court as well. That is why we restricted that. Otherwise, as you rightly said, there is a spiritual aspect as well, which is dangerous. Especially in the Kundalini Yoga and all, it is dangerous.
Thank you, brother. We have one more question.
Hi, my name is Francis, and this question is directed to Brother Narendra on atheism. I work for a company called Bosch, and I'm into training department, so we have intellectuals in our team. So there's a lady who is a gold medalist in psychology. So she studies atheism, science, and everything. So I was discussing with her the moral argument. So the question she has is, I was talking about the strongest survive and the weakest die argument. So what she said, take an example. There was a time when humans were not evolved completely, so they were like animals. So they wanted to hunt and eat. So there was a group. Okay, so there was a group of 5 people or 10 people. So they felt we are strong and we should kill others. Now when they thought of killing others to defend themselves, so that's where the moral argument began evolving. For example, if I have a member in my team, so to defend him, I would feel if he dies, if this guy dies, then my entire team collapses. So I defend him. So I would say, no, you cannot kill this guy. If I have a woman in my team and if she gets raped and there's a ill effects, I know she'll get pregnant, she'll die out of childbirth pang and all. So I started defending the women, the person in my team, and I started killing the other person. So this group survived, and maybe through procreation, reproduction, this group began, and that's how the moral argument started.
Excellent. So it evolved over a period of time. Okay, let me take. That's a very good question, Francis. I appreciate it. Okay, now. Let me take the scenario of some place where the moral argument doesn't apply, like to non-humans, for example, birds. Okay, you know what happens in a bird? Let's take the same thing. Okay, they are not bound by the moral argument. Can you say that? So birds steal, kill, rape, everything happens. So in a flock of birds, this is science. In a flock of birds, if one of the bird gets sick, you know what happens? It doesn't happen what you said. Do you know what happens in a bird? In a bird group, if one bird falls sick, you know what the birds do? Do they take care, as what she said, that okay, I have to take care because it's part of my team? No, the birds kill that bird. It's survival of the fittest. Okay, so this is utter silly, I would say, nonsense, because it doesn't apply in anywhere in the animal instincts. If humans derived from that, now if I even take it from the human context and I say that why do I have to take care? Now, if there are 10 people going together on a mission, on something, and if one of the guys falls sick, and my mission is to survive, then to accomplish that main mission, I have to finish that guy because he is slowing me down. Why am I supposed to take care of him? He is better off dead for the betterment of the whole team, the utilitarian approach. If there is a group of 50, 2 are weak, kill them off. Save the other 40. That is the utilitarian, the larger good. Do you see that in humans? No. Yeah, go on. No, but that's not how it works, right? It is, now in the same thing, if the birds are there, or in the monkeys, or whatever be the case, those two will mean the downfall of the team, because they are slowing you down. They are your weak link in the chain. That's not how natural selection works. Natural selection, survival of the fittest, that's what Hitler believed in. That's why he was exterminating the Jews. Why was he doing that? At thousands of, 16,000 a day, if I got the maths right.
The links and our email address will be available in the description of the video, where you can post the question if you have question and you forgot to ask the question at this point of time. Anyways, I would request brother.
One sec. Sure. On YouTube, you can just go and search Sakshi Apologetics, you'll get the page. In case you're wondering what's their YouTube page, just go on YouTube, search Sakshi Apologetics. If you just subscribe, you'll get the notification when the videos are uploaded. Or you can write an email to Sakshi apologeticsnetwork@gmail.com.
So we would like to call it a day. Thank you so much. Good night and God bless you.